Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to the Ted Alexandro Show. This is our special New Year's Eve extravaganza. Man, we have got a show in store for you. This is a special one. This is a big one. And I am very excited to bring it to you to close out 2020. Put a bow on it. Stick a pin in it, kick it out the door. If you're like me, you're happy to see it end. If you're like me, you'll probably be in bed by 10. We'll see. I don't know. The last couple of years, that's been the case. I don't mind telling you. I'm a married man with a child. You can't begrudge me sneaking into bed before Ryan Seacrest or whoever it is this year tells us that the year has changed and come to an end. But very excited to be with all of you. If you would, take a moment, hit subscribe. We've got all night, but do it now. Like this video. Comment. Hop into the comments. Say something as simple as, Happy New Year. I'm saying it to you. And if you would, please support the show. If you're able, please understand. Those are the parameters. If you're able, go to patreon.com/Ted Alexandro. Lots of bonus content there. Lots of great stuff going on. We've added the 8th Ted Alexandro Comedy Academy Masterclass. And that is up, and it is there for all of you to enjoy. That is at the $20 tier. And there will be ongoing classes and ongoing bonus content coming in the new year as well. So please check out patreon.com/Ted Alexandro. Well, folks, lots of guests coming down the pike today. Jim Gaffigan, my buddy. Elliott Mason, virtuoso jazz trombonist from the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, will be joining us a little later on. Friend of the show, comedian, actor extraordinaire, and international correspondent for the Ted Alexandro Show, Jeffrey Joseph, will join us. And artist, psychic medium, executive producer extraordinaire, Madalyn Geraldine, will join us as well. So much to do, so much going on, and we will take you right up until whenever the show ends. We're not going to go till midnight. I'm not insane. But it's a celebration. Throw back a few of your favorite beverage, your choice, obviously. Do you have a spread? Is there a spread involved? I hope so. Can't go wrong with a good spread. Before I get to our first guest, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my 2020, the changes that have taken place within my soul, if not in my life. The first most obvious thing is we moved. Lifelong New Yorker, Queens boy through and through, Astorian for the past 15 years or so. We finally packed up and headed north to Connecticut. So that is the big change for 2020. Pandemic aside, there'll be plenty of pandemic talk for sure. But to see that dream come true, and it's a dream that I never really had until obviously I had a wife and child. Specifically, the ones that I have. And then your dreams take shape, right? Isn't that that's the way I operate? I don't really have too many goals until the universe says, "Hey, how about Connecticut?" And being a New Yorker, you always kind of Connecticut. You dismiss it until you get to that phase of life when every New Yorker moves to Connecticut. I believe I tweeted that. How New York am I? I'm so New York that I live in Connecticut. So a big shift for sure, but the timing was right. And the pandemic gave us that extra push. We were looking already. The pandemic gave us that extra push to step up our efforts. We found a place that we loved, and now we have a home. And it's beautiful. It's all the things that we had hoped. It's overwhelming, but the timing could not have been better. Very grateful to the universe for allowing us to make that move and to have some space, to have a yard, a fence that still needs fixing. I know did I give my word? I don't know if I gave my word, but I alluded to the fact that I needed to fix a fence. Hasn't happened yet. Actually, I did try. I half-assed it. That was the issue. I half-assed it, and I got like one little section fixed, and then we had like a windy, stormy night, and now 2 sections are down. So again, the universe said, "Hey, let's do it right." Agreed. I will at some point, maybe in the new year. That's my New Year's resolution. I will fix the fence. But the thing that I'm appreciating, and it took me a little bit by surprise, is nature. When you live in New York City, when you live in Queens, you're aware that there are stars in the sky. You've heard of it. You've seen pictures. The occasional star breaks through the muck, the pollution, and just the lights, right? The lights that surround a city. There's always light on, too much light. It's never really dark. So, you see the moon. It's there. It's nice. You see the occasional star. Friends, I'm here to tell you, there is a sky, there is a solar system to behold that I never was aware of. I mean, over the years, sure, I've seen it, when I get out of the city, but man, almost every night when I'm locking up, doing the things that a homeowner must, turning off lights, getting ready to go to bed, I've been unplugging the Christmas lights, the decorative holiday lights that we put out to alert the neighbors that we're festive folk. We come in peace. So when I go out there to unplug it, these last few nights I look up, and my God, the beauty, the amount of stars that you can see. It truly takes my breath away. I mean, it's also cold, so I'm gasping. But the moon, the size of the moon, is just so gorgeous. And it so illuminates. I mean, my wife and I both said it felt like a movie set, That's our frame of reference coming from Astoria, where there's always a movie being shot, and like floodlights are kind of invading your space and lighting up some building or, the Hellgate Bridge or whatever it is. But the moon was providing such light that it was like, whoa, it felt like you could see your shadow from the moon. I don't think I've ever experienced that. And just the stars. I think I went to the planetarium like on a school trip, and that was the best view I'd ever had of the stars. And it felt like that. It was like, wow, just the sheer number, the beauty. There was a shooting star one night. I almost said, am I imagining things now? Am I taking that next step? Am I making things up? But no, I know what I saw. I saw what I saw, and I know that I saw it. Maybe the aliens will come next. We'll see what 2021 brings. But, we'll leave a light on for them. But man, just the breathtaking beauty of the outdoors. A few nights in a row, now it's my practice. It's my spiritual practice. I take a little time and I look up and I stare in wonder. I realize what I'm really articulating. There's a song that already expresses all of this. It's called Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I mean, it's a children's song, but it expresses exactly how I wonder what you are up above the world. So you know the words, sing along. But man, if that song had not already been written, I wouldn't be surprised if I wrote that sometime right after I fixed the fence. So lots to be grateful for in 2020, despite the insanity of it all, despite so many of our societal structures being exposed as ineffectual, unresponsive. You always have to have the balance. You have to look at both. You have to have the appreciation for the bounty, for the good things, for the stars above, even if it's as simple as that. Stars shining high. Is that it? Dream a little dream. Stars shining high above me, up above me. I'm gonna make my star playlist. We've got 2 already. So, friends, I am appreciative. That is tonight. Tonight. Let's just focus on that. January 1st. Let's bitch about $600 or $2,000 was shot down by Mitch McConnell. Mitch is going to Mitch. Any surprise there? No. So what will it be? I mean, whatever they come up with is inadequate. Canada has been getting, I think they get $10,000 a week. That's what I heard. We'll clear that up with Jeffrey Joseph in just a bit. But they're going to give us a one-time payment of what somewhere between $6,000 and $2,000. Right now, they're just fighting. They're jockeying, and it's a pissing contest, and they're pissing on us. So we'll see. But there's time for that tonight. It's about the stars and possibility and balls dropping. And fresh starts, right? There's always excitement in that. Fresh starts, possibility, what lies ahead, and appreciation for what is now and what has been. So while we acknowledge the ample challenges of 2020 and we say get the fuck out, we're done with you, we also appreciate all of the good things that have happened, and we express gratitude, and we look towards 2021. And we know, at least we hope, it will be better. It will be easier. I was thinking about the Christmas song, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, that line, we all will be together if the fates allow. That line hit harder this year, didn't it? Because the fates did not allow. The virus did not allow. So hopefully the fates will allow, and we won't have to wait until next Christmas. Hopefully the fates will allow us sometime sooner than that to assemble and see one another on something other than a Zoom chat. But until then, we have that possibility. So let's do it. Again, friends, we thank you for all of your support throughout this year. Episode 40, I believe we're on. Can you believe it? Man, 40 episodes of the Ted Alexandro Show. Thank you for taking the ride with us. Man, it has been a thrill and will continue to be. I guarantee you. I do not wear a seatbelt. I just go like a bat out of hell. And If the speed limit's 50, I assure you I'm doing somewhere between 51 and 55. So please, folks, if you have not already, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. It will be dropping at midnight. Like this video. These are all simple asks. Jump into the comments. Wish us a Happy New Year. Tell us what you think. And support the show at patreon.com/Ted Alexandro. All right, friends, as I said, we've got a big one for you, so let's tarry not. Our first guest to kick off this New Year's celebration is none other than Jim Gaffigan. Oh,
there we are.
Jim Gaffigan.
Ah, Ted.
How are you, buddy?
Because this is what my hair looks like.
I like the look. I like the look with the hat.
Thank you.
You look like a like a Depression era paper boy.
I am, in fact.
So this is our New Year's Eve celebration. You're part of a star-studded cast of characters. What can you tell people this unprecedented year coming to a close? What is your mood as the clock ticks towards 2021?
Well, I guess I'm kind of a cynic. My concern is that I think people have too high of expectations of 2021. I think
so. You think people are you think people are thinking everything's going to be rosy and we're going to get over everything that's happened in 2020 and it's a clean slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're all January 20th. We're all going to breathe a sigh of relief. But not to be too much of a cynic, but I feel as though around March, it's going to become apparent that it's more likely. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but I just think that we were so pleasantly surprised with the vaccines that people are like, let's go. And I think that, well, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that things are going to get darker.
Hey, if you think it's going to take until March, I think that might in fact be optimistic. So, I think if you look at the track record of the way this year has gone, every time people thought like, okay, it looks like maybe we're turning a corner, it looks like we've got a handle on it, the opposite has been true. So I think you might be right. Now, looking at the brighter side, you obviously have been one of the hardest working men in show business. Comedy specials every year for the past decade almost. Movies, books, stage. I mean, come on. Now, what has this year been like for Jim Gaffigan with things grinding to a halt?
It's there's a strange amount of feeling of accomplishment. I'm excited if we successfully eat the leftovers. You know what I mean? Before they go bad.
Yes. No, that's
like if I can figure out how to squeeze in some leftovers.
Yep.
It's like a video game. It's like you get food, salad's always hard, right? Because no one wants leftover salad.
No, that's problematic.
But I don't know. There's part of me that's frightened because I feel as though this pandemic will eventually end. And there's going to be a lot of people that have tons of material and I don't. I have none. You know what I mean? Like I stroll through Instagram and I'm like, oh, look at that person, doing a show in Florida or doing it outside in December. And I don't want to, but there's part of me that's, because it was such a ritual and it's almost kind of this forced retirement is going to lead to a certain sense of panic when we get back out there.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it. Now, this has got to be unprecedented for you in close to, if not 30-year career doing stand-up. You probably never took a break longer than what, a month? Like, what was the longest prior to this?
Well, I did this Broadway play, and that was like 5 months, but I was performing every night, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
And that was 5 months without, like, never after a show you would duck out and pop into a club, or just no stand-up?
I had designs to do that, but I ended up, it was such a commitment that there was a forced decompression that kind of occurred after every show, meaning drinking alcohol.
Right.
But yeah, maybe that was 3 months without doing stand-up. And I've done some drive-in shows, which are not stand-up. They're just, you might as well be
pep rallies, right? In a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still performing, but as far as the dynamic of it, it's almost like USO shows of keeping the morale up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not undifferent from a Biden rally. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what he would do, except for he would do it in Wilmington. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. What do you think it's going to be like?
I have no idea. I've pretty much lived this whole year very much in the moment. Having a baby helps with that, but I haven't looked too far ahead. I think in my life, I've tried to be realistic about, all right, what's called for now, and just let's do that, and whatever's next will present itself. So that's kind of how I honestly have no idea. Will all of 2021 be similar to this? It's possible. Who knows? So yeah, I don't really prognosticate. Yeah. Who knows?
Particularly with these strains. And it's such a weird, like, I think the year, even putting Trump aside, like the poisoning of the well, because there is a certain amount of misinformation that has occurred that makes you, like, I think we all kind of know that Biden and Hunter, there's some weird stuff that possibly, in all likelihood, was suppressed. And by the way, in full disclosure, I'm kind of like, just get Trump out of there, which is the wrong opinion to have, right?
I share that opinion. I want him out. Let's bring in the next corrupt administration.
Right, but there is something about where, and we have friends that formerly known as libertarians that were kind of harping on the mainstream media, and there is something to be said for that. But so, in other words, and then they're treating us like children, like even with the the herd immunity is now like 85, 90, and we didn't want to frighten you. And so now it's, I'm living with teenagers, and like, they just don't trust you at all. And so that's kind of what's happening with the news information we're getting, where you have to,
Well, sorry to interrupt, but I was thinking back to 9/11 and how we didn't have social media, right? So all of that happened kind of, we were being fed information through the usual media outlets at that point. Everybody was glued to their televisions and listening and watching. But it was not a kind of communal shared grieving in terms of on Facebook or on Twitter or in real time, having a dialogue about it. Whereas with this, people, the whole time of like, what else is there to do? But as you say, still there's so much like misinformation and kind of obfuscating of what's really going on. So I would think teenagers and this generation coming up would be a lot more skeptical about, what they're being fed.
Yeah, I think it's, what I think is going to be most interesting in 2021 for me, just as a news junkie, will be, because you look at all the Trumpers and his cronies, and you assume that they're so toxic, and that goes down to Rubio and even Nikki Haley. Like they have the stench or the toxic waste attached to them, but someone is going to rise out of that. So, and the fascinating thing is how someone is like, we think that, I mean, in some ways, maybe I'm not making sense, but I look at Marco Rubio and I'm like, it's over, man. It's like, are you just doing this to hold on to your Senate seat? Maybe. And Nikki Haley, I'm like, you're not going to, like, if America is this 50-50 country, Nikki Haley, you standing up for some of these Trump beliefs you're picking the wrong side of history. Do you know what I mean? So it's
she's probably more focused on the immediate than history, because there's a part of the constituency of her constituency that shares all of those thoughts. Same with Rubio, right? Ted Cruz. These people get elected for a reason. So, and they've also seen with Trump that if maybe removing the veneer of some of the, the political correctness or some of the, playing ball, or keeping the veneer of, or even just being more politically, I don't know, just playing the game. It's peeled off that as well, that some of these guys are like, oh, well, Trump proved like we don't have to do that at all.
Yeah. It's also going to be really interesting what happens in Georgia, because I don't know how anyone could vote for Loeffler or Perdue. Like, they're obviously cronies. They've voted against support, and they're about to vote against these $2,000 checks. So
she was just inserted into that seat to begin with.
Yeah, she's just, and it's weird because she has the benefit of being, this is where I'm going to get in trouble. If she was a guy, she would be destroyed. But because we don't want to come across as sexist, I think people are like, the fact that she is, married to the guy who owns the stock exchange, which sounds like something out of a cartoon. It's like, I own the World Bank. You know what I mean? It's just so absurd.
It is absurd.
Because of her gender, I think that's, and by the way, sexism is wrong, and I'm a dumb old white guy. But
yeah, no, it does kind of, it can almost have the guise of like, oh, it's progress. She's a powerful woman. There's always that, that narrative that can be pushed.
Yeah.
In lieu of, bad things happening under a new package.
I think, by the way, January 5th and 6th, I think if Perdue and Loeffler win, I think people are going to be pretty bummed. Because I think and they probably will, because a lot of people voted for Biden and didn't vote for the Democratic senator. I mean, even though people like divided government, I don't understand that. I like, it when there's no movement. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like it when no agenda gets done.
Yes. Well, yeah.
I used to be a comedian. I used to tell jokes.
You and me both. Just a couple more quick questions. We're going to keep it rolling because I don't want to take too much of your time, and New Year's is approaching.
Yes.
So let's just quickly tell me, with those things, comedy, as you mentioned, taken off your plate, what has filled your time? What creative passions? What have you found yourself drawn to? Anything new? Anything that surprised you?
I mean, it's a level of insanity. A lot of these outdoor activities or health things that I had material on, whether it be vegetables, hiking, and cross-country skiing, I've embraced all of them. So
you just went through your act and said, yeah,
I
maybe
went through my act, all the things I've complained about. Seafood's next, I guess. But Ted, I bought cross country skis which is a level of insanity. I did an Instagram, like I was out there cross country skiing, and I was like, "What has happened to me?"
Did you enjoy it?
It was, it's a workout. It's it's kind of like hiking
or an elliptical, yeah.
And it is just it's the original elliptical, and I just want to earn the ability to eat as much as I want.
Well, you're on the right track. Final question for you, buddy. I want you to compare Jim Gaffigan, December 31st, 2019. Jim Gaffigan, December 31st, 2020. Do you even remember where you were, what you were doing, and what perspective have you gained?
I was in Florida. I was I was caught up in I was in full on writing mode. You and I were about to, we were in Florida, and then we were well, wait a minute, you might not have been in Florida because
I don't think I was last year. Yeah.
And then I was getting ready for this Canadian tour, and then I was going to go to Spain. And then the plan was that I was going to do a tour of Latin America. So I was in full on writing mode, like barely exercising. And now I'm much more of, I get enjoyment from cleaning the kitchen. I mean, I've lost my mind. You know what I mean? I'm like, I might as, like, I look at, Fauci's 80, and I'm like, you know what? He's got more energy than me. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what
so
you mean.
Yeah, I'm pretty different, but I know that when I'll be able to do stand up, I will lose these good habits I've developed.
So you're going to
how different are you? That's a question for you too. What is?
Yeah, I think I like to fool myself into thinking that, like, I don't need stand up, or I don't need, like, I'm just a homebody who doesn't need to go out and engage with the world. But I think it's kind of reminded me of how much I love not just stand up, but just being around people and the friendships and the interactions. Like, all of those things feed you in so many ways. So, as much as I think I like to act like I can take or leave humanity, I think it's reminded me of all of those things.
Yeah, it is very, and I'm sure this applies to everyone, but I think that comedians, particularly touring comedians, the exposure to different places, I'm sure there's other occupations like this, and other people, it's weird. Like, I always thought of this, people, say some scandal hits someone, like even that Washington football team quarterback, where he was let go. The opportunities that arise to a guy in his early 20s who's just had the ego boost of being the leader of one of the NFL teams, and he is approached by all these things, these temptations, that me, living in a rental house, I'm not exposed to any of those temptations. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so whereas, like, as a stand-up, I'm not eating a steak at 11 o'clock at night because I don't have an opportunity to have a steak at 11 o'clock at night. And I don't have an opportunity to do anything bad, or there's no stimulation. So there's a little bit of, I'm hibernation. I'm in hibernation.
And part of it is also the seasons of life. You're talking about a 20-year-old guy out of college versus, we're married with kids, in our 50s. So it's a different time of life too. But I think in a weird way, it almost, as sad and chaotic and tragic as other aspects of it is, it's also like kind of a nice jarring reminder of like the small important things in life. And I'm sure having 5 kids too, like you've had real opportunities for just moments of connection that you can't when you're gone.
There is. Everything is kind of there's been a highlighter put to every moment. And that also applies to, so we've been doing family game night over the last couple nights, and the drama, first of all, it's 9:30 at night. And even though these kids never go to bed before 1 anyway, they are tired, but like the drama that ensues, like, Dane Cook someone had a joke about the Monopoly board being flipped over. That's how every game ends. Maybe it was a tell. And it's, to witness, we can't get through a game of life. We can't get through a game of Monopoly.
Yeah.
But we can, but it's just, we can't get through it without some bickering. We've got 7 people, someone's in a shit mood. Yeah. But there is also, to your point, it's, we wouldn't have those moments otherwise. I mean,
being from a big family, those are the moments you're going to look back. They're going to cherish these times. They're going to cherish, even if there is fights or bickering or whatever, you're going to remember, you remember family game night, and everyone's going to have fond memories of the time together. Yeah. So that's the important thing, is it not? It is.
It is.
Well, buddy, happy New Year to you. Yes. And Jeannie and all the kids. And I look forward to seeing, this is the longest we've gone without seeing each other, right? What was it, February that we last worked together?
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Insane. It's crazy. A long time.
All right, buddy. Be well.
Thanks
happy New Year.
Take care.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Jim Gaffigan, my good buddy. The person with whom I have probably spent the most time on the road in my career, I think undoubtedly. Jim and I have been all over the world together these past 6, almost 7 years. So great to reconnect with Jim. That was always a big part of the fun, was the hang. We always had a good hang. The shows were always fun and great, of course. But then you go for dinner, you have a meal, you have a nice glass of wine, you talk about life, talk about the world. So it's nice to get a chance to do that virtually. So happy New Year to Jim and all the Gaffigans, and thank you, Jim, for joining us for the New Year's Extravaganza. Back to a few of your questions, folks, and they're coming in fast and furious. Carrie Sadshaw asks, how's the baby? How's your wife? Who made your wife's wedding dress? Thank you for asking. The baby is fine. He's getting bigger all the time. I think he's approaching 5 feet. It seems he's a baby, but it feels as though he's just growing faster than my brain can accept. But he's just a cute little guy. We love him very much. My wife is great. Thank you for asking. Pregnant, obviously, waiting for baby number 2. Sometime in April is the due date. Who made your wife's wedding dress? She did. My wife came from the fashion industry. That was her work, her career, and back in the day. And she designed and created her own wedding dress. You said loved it, so thank you for that. I loved it as well. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous, as is she. So thank you for asking. And I think her friend, they collaborated, not to forget to give credit. Her friend also helped with some of the detailing, if that's the right word. So thank you to her friend, Sam. All right. Matt Olson asks, how dare you? What gives you the right? Who do you think you are? I'm curious. Matt, those are all excellent questions. Honestly, I don't have the answer to any of them. Who do you think you are? I ask myself that every day, Matt. I hope you do as well, because that is, that's the juice that propels you forward, trying to figure it all out. So thank you for reminding me of these important questions. Those were via Instagram, and we also had a couple of questions via Twitter. What does your wife think of your single at 40-bit? She loved it, like everyone who heard it. It's old now, obviously, so life has changed. I didn't do it. I almost did it. It did me. So it is fun to look back at old bits, especially something as like a signature bit like that. That was my signature bit. I did it. Made it through the maze. Look at me. Preening. Prancing. Like a peacock. And now look at me. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Yes. Okay, here we go. This was a good one that I saw. Jason Good, a fine comedian and writer in his own right, asks, is consciousness something inside our brains, or is it something that exists outside of us that our brains tune into? This might take more than one episode. Jason, that's an excellent question, and it's an easy answer, quick one. Yes. Yes to all of it. And maybe no. You know, Jason, I think consciousness is both singular to the individual, yet it is dependent upon the interconnectedness of the totality of humanity, of this ecosystem of energy, unquantifiable, undefinable, unknowable, unseeable energy that connects us all. So, though you may possess a singular consciousness, a singular soul, without that interconnectedness, what is it? Is it even real if a tree falls in the forest? Type thing. Chicken or the egg. You get where I'm going. So I think I've answered it. That's an excellent question. I gave you the Cliff's Notes version. There is more to say. You're right, Jason. Truth be told, it could be its own miniseries, and I'm the man to do it. I honestly, I don't know. Is it inside our brains? I don't know if it's the brains or some sort of vortex or... That's a great question. Where does it reside? I don't think it's the brain. I think the brain factors in, certainly. But it's your aura. It's your aura, Jason. You know what I'm talking about. You can only feel it when the person is there in front of you, animated, and you feel it. You feel the consciousness. You feel the presence. Is that their brain? Perhaps it partly emanates from the brain, but it is that which emanates from, right? Without being too much of a yoga teacher or a Reiki master. An excellent question. The big questions, Jason, right? It's not. These are not just the little things, the little glib kind of comedic questions. You're coming with the real stuff, and I do appreciate it. Happy New Year, my friend, to you and yours. Kenny DeForest, a fine comedian, asks, will 2021 actually be any better than 2020? Will the next 4 years politically be fundamentally different than the last 4? And if so, will they be so in ways that aren't mostly cosmetic and superficial? Also, why does my ass smell like this? Thanks. Long time, first time. Kenny, thank you. Your ass is your own business. You know, I would never get involved and tell someone how to deal with their ass situation, smells, otherwise. But I think you know what needs to be done. As far as the political climate, I think, look, we have the bar is very low. For me, I wanted Trump excised from the political landscape and the social media landscape, which he so dominates. And I think we've already seen that to a large extent, Biden will ignore the populace, ignore the big problems that need to be addressed. I don't know if you saw the thing where he had some sort of virtual meeting with black leaders, and he was very dismissive of them. One of them said, basically kind of not even challenged him, but said like, please work with us, or please, show the voters, essentially like we were there for you. We need you. Can you? And he took umbrage and kind of said like, hey, nobody's done more than this white boy. At one point he did kind of take on that like, hey man, you know how he does that when he talks to black people? So Biden to me is going to be a different kind of funny, a different kind of comedy. But, will it be better? I don't know. I'm not particularly optimistic in the political sphere. I'm happy Trump's gone. Biden Harris, I think, will be better in small ways, and I'm grateful for that. But any real substantive change, this organism of politics is designed to move at a glacial pace, and it will do that. But let's hope that, like your ass, some of the smells can be removed and it can flourish once again. All right, folks. I'm so excited about our next guest. This man is a member of the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra since 2006 up to this present day. He is the jazz trombone professor at the Juilliard School at NYU. And no less a jazz icon than Wynton Marsalis has said, Elliott's unbelievable as a trombonist. There's unworldly facility, virtuosity, and clarity in his playing. He can sing a melody out from the trombone. It's like a human voice, the way he plays it. Elliott Mason is our guest, and he is my friend from the coffee shop. Who knew he was also a virtuoso, a jazz icon in his own right? Let's welcome to the show my friend, Elliott Mason. Elliott.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. I'm better than I was yesterday. But yeah. Good. Well, thank you for making time for this. Especially you've been a little under the weather, so thank you for setting aside a little time for our New Year's Eve celebration. Absolutely, man. Well, Sophia and myself, we're huge fans of you, super fans, if you will. So it's a pleasure to be here. Absolutely, talking to you.
Well, right back at you, man. As I said in your intro, you're my friend from the coffee shop, Victoria, and who knew? On top of that, just as I've grown to find out, likewise, let me return the compliment. A huge fan of both you and Sophia, and the artistry that you bring into the world. I was thinking to myself, just a year ago, Madalyn and I were watching you at Jazz at Lincoln Center for the Christmas Spectacular. So, what a difference a year makes.
Absolutely, man. I can't believe that was a year ago right then. That's right. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking back to those times pre-pandemic is just almost, I can't even fathom it right now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to it. I think it's going to happen. Hopefully, slowly and safely, but looking forward to getting back to that.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Let me just shift there we go. So I see us side by side, just like the old days.
We need a coffee, man. That's what we need right now.
It's true. So, Elliott, you're somebody that I had seen around Astoria for several years. And, it's one of those kind of cosmic things where I felt drawn to you. I told Madalyn this. I may have even told you this. I was like, I see this guy and your brother, Brad, also an accomplished musician. You guys are you have the Mason Brothers Quintet. And I saw the two of you guys, and you were kind of just striking guys I'd see at the coffee shop. And I've had this feeling a few times in my life where I just felt like, like I feel like that guy's my friend. We've never exchanged a word, but I feel like we're friends. And then eventually, and I would see you and Sophia, your wife, an accomplished jazz vocalist. Again, I didn't know any of these things. And your beautiful son, Maxim. Am I saying the name properly, Maxim?
Perfect. Nailed it.
Yeah, and I would see you guys at the coffee shop, and your son was such a joyous presence, always smiling, always a ray of sunshine. And finally, we struck up a conversation, and then we struck up a friendship. So yeah, it was just, and it was funny to me because we were on a similar path at one point. I was the first trombone in the junior high school 109 jazz orchestra, and I put that in quotes. But I played the trombone for a little while, and then of course we talked a little bit about that and all of that. But I was so impressed to find out your history. I mean, you've been playing since you could walk, right? Your dad was a jazz musician, and you and your brother followed that path. Can you talk a little bit about that life in the arts and music?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I mean, maybe it was a trombone thing, man. Maybe, because we had the exact same connection. Sophia and myself, we thought the same thing. It's very strange when you see someone and on a semi-regular basis, but you feel like you know them. And we had that same thing. And you were just absolutely, Maxim took to you guys just because of the way you treated him and talked to him, so there was definitely a connection beforehand. But I mean, I like to believe it was a trombone thing, but I think it's deeper than that.
That's right.
But yeah, so I mean, just both my parents are jazz musicians. So my father was a trumpet player and trombone player. My mom, jazz vocalist, and so that kind of set us up. As far as that was just the norm in the house. And so both my brother and myself, they didn't really want us to be musicians professionally, but they wanted us to just at least enjoy music.
Yes.
But then once we decided,
little did they know.
Exactly. And once we kind of just had curiosity with like my dad's trumpet and stuff, like, going over to a very expensive old trumpet and trying to play it. And then the next day you get your own student model. No, this is yours. This is the one that you play,
Wow. Yeah.
Worth $10 instead of like, 1,000 or something. But, so that's kind of how it all started for us, with Brad and myself, and then eventually we came out to the U.S. As you can probably tell, I still got a little bit of my UK accent, trying to hang on to it.
Little hint, yeah.
But we came out to the U.S. to go to school, with the idea and intention to go back to England at some point, and we still might. But it's been some years here, like over
now. If I read this correctly, you came around age 16 to the Berklee School of Music, right? So that's got to be young for admittance to a school of that renown.
Yeah, I think my parents wouldn't have allowed me to go unless my brother, who's older than me, was there already. So he was like looking after me. I mean, if it was just me, if I was the eldest one, they would have probably said, no, this is too young to let our son go over there by himself. But I was, so that really helped that situation. But it was great to be, because I didn't want to be away from Brad. Already we were writing music together, even though he was 18 and I was like 15, turning 16. So we didn't want to be away from each other at that point. But it helped. It aided in that. But looking back on it, I mean, I definitely think, man, I was young then. I mean, there's certain parts of it that I would have appreciated more, just being older, just more grown up and mature about certain situations. But it was absolute pleasure to be in the school. I think they dealt with me. They had a couple other people there that were one person was even 14 and another person was around my age. So they did have some younger students there at that time as well. They dealt with it really well.
Wow. Yeah, I envy you that environment. Not to throw my parents under the bus,
But I envy you that environment of, you spoke the language. You spoke the language of jazz. You grew up hearing it. You grew up listening to it. My parents, God bless them, the record collection was heavy on the Carpenters and Barry Manilow. So great tunes, but I didn't have that facility. So I was late to the. I always speak of it as like coming to a language late, the way we do in the US anyway. I mean, I talk about that in some of my bits, how like we start learning languages too late, and jazz included. So do you think that kind of gave you a leg up? I would assume it certainly did.
It absolutely did. I mean, just because there was music on in the house, I was getting introduced to stuff that I wouldn't have heard until I got to some kind of music class. Or people, peers my age at school or something. So that side of things was huge, and it was wonderful. Looking back on it, it was wonderful. In the moment, though, it's like sitting down at the dinner table and then talking about jazz with your parents. So at some point you want to be like, okay, can we switch off and just have a normal conversation right here? So, in the moment there was those kind of things going on, but looking back, it's like, of course, my dad would like burnt tapes at that time and was giving me like, these are trombone players, these are trumpet players, check them out. I mean, without that, it would have been, just that kind of exposure was just amazing.
Yeah, I bet. So, and now fast forward, I mean, you find yourself in the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, surrounded by these titans, and yourself every bit, among them, and belonging there, obviously. But it's got to be a thrill, I mean, as a comedian, for me, when you get certain gigs or you're amongst certain talent, you almost pinch yourself. Did you find that to be the case when you were part of the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and still do, and just to be in an environment where, I'm playing with just some amazing jazz musicians on a regular basis, and that is kind of my main thing that I do, just playing music and what I love and what I feel is my purpose. Just that alone is just, I mean, it really is fantastic. So yeah, I mean, but I never actually, it's kind of strange. I didn't really seek out the gig, and I played with other people like in different situations. And then there was a chair that was open, and I was kind of just, even when I was called for that, I just assumed it was just one gig and that's it, So I just kind of played the one gig. Then I got called again. It's like, okay, I'll play this gig. And then I got called for a tour, and then we kind of had chance to kind of really, really just gel as a family and musically and stretch and all that kind of stuff. And after then I got asked to join for like, it's a yearly kind of contract thing. And since then I've been there for 14 years.
Wow. Probably feels like a blink of an eye, right?
It sure does. Does.
Yeah. And you're among so many titans and so many, I guess, guest artists come in as well. I have to tell you that very often throughout the holiday season, our mornings began, Nico and I would sit in the kitchen. I'd be giving him his breakfast, and we had kind of a holiday playlist. And among that was the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra Christmas. So I heard Nico and I, and Madalyn was getting some extra sleep, but Nico and I would hear you play, and Wynton Marsalis would, at the end, would always say on trombone, Elliott Mason, if you had a solo in that particular tune. But it was so great to hear you and to feel your presence. But my question specifically is, do you have any memories that stand out of as I say, so many giants come through? Can you think of one or two of like, wow, we're playing with so and so?
I mean, honestly, there has been so many. I mean, the things that kind of resonate with me is people that have changed me musically. Like we played with Chick Corea, and that we didn't just play with him. We did a tour with him, and we also recorded all his music that was all just rearranged for the big band. And
I could remember, hold on to that thought, but I could have sat in because one of the tunes we played in the junior high school 109 band was Spain. I still remember the
You've got the right positions going on there too, man. I see it.
You never lose it. You never lose it. So continue, please, Chick Corea.
But yeah. So I mean, so having him not only come in, but even just play with him, have him comp, and that was like a real dream for me, because that was someone that I wanted to play with. And also just here it's different, even going to a gig and hearing someone live. I think that's why I'm craving that right now, just the pandemic, but also just to be on stage with them and just to see how things change each night, and how someone's just viewing music and thinking of music. So that really has stood out to me.
And it's interesting you say how things change each night, because obviously jazz is an improvisational art form. But even within jazz, are there folks, I mean, not to ask you to demean anyone, but are there folks who even take that aspect to another level of, like, they don't kind of hold on to any tricks, any crutches. They really have a facility with that type of, on a nightly basis, really bringing that to the music.
To me, that is what makes a master. That is what is it to me. I mean, there are definitely people that transcribe and play some of the phrases of masters, but they're never going to come close to that. And for it to be just natural, of an extension of your language, and how you're having a conversation with somebody, and that kind of thing, really, it can take a lifetime. But that's what's very apparent to me when you hear recordings that stay with me, because it's not only the emotional content of what's behind what they're saying, but also it's not about playing certain phrases to wow people. It's more about just the feeling behind it and what they're saying at that time. And that could just be something in a moment of time that was just, this is just what we said, this is what happened, good or bad, but it's still with that feeling behind it is what always stands out to me. And I kind of gravitate towards listening. And then as a performer, it's like, I want that, I want that. All the technical stuff that we practice, to be able to say what we want to say, is to help us to point in the right direction of to say that, to say it in a certain way, not just to say it to be able to do it, of like, I've never heard this phrase before, this was tricky or challenging. I mean, that kind of gets old real quick. So for me, it's, those kind of masters that I'm sure you're all familiar with, like the Monks, the Coltranes, and Woody Shaw, Freddie Hubbard, J.J. Johnson. It's like they have that feeling behind.
Yes, and you do as well. You embody that, and listening to you and your spirit, and just as a side thing, even like I noticed, Madalyn and I noticed the way you would interact with everyone, from the person at the front door, the people taking the tickets or letting us into the artist entrance. You had a real generosity of spirit and warmth, and obviously that also goes into your playing, the spirit that you bring. And I think kind of what you're talking about is that almost seamless, you assimilate who you are into your playing, and I see that with you for sure. Just to
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit. I know we're going to keep it brief. Just a couple more things. You and Sophia have so seamlessly and easily kind of made the transition into making music online during this pandemic. Despite all the challenges, I love following both you and Sophia online, all the stuff you've been putting on Instagram. Can you talk a little bit about that shift?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fortunately, I had like a pretty good setup. This is my padded cell right now. It's not great to look at, but it's it's good. So
festive. It's festive.
I'm trying to make it festive right now, but but for everyone kind of, I feel like upgraded their game as far as like home studios and stuff during the beginning of the pandemic. So this has been wonderful, because now we're able to feel like we can record with people that I might not have had time with my regular schedule to do. and across the world. So like we started in March, where we maybe did like 4 or 5 collaborations with some great musicians in Brazil. I mean, and it's stuff that we had we'd met before, or we'd had like a little correspondence, but that was it. And now this kind of gave us the opportunity to actually do something with them and record with them. And so that's how kind of things first started. And then, since then we've just been like reaching out to friends, people that we normally play with and people that we want to play with, and just putting stuff together. And so but you know how it is with the little one. It can take a little bit more time than if we didn't have him, because it's like we have to either wait for him to go to sleep, and then it's like, okay, now we've got 2 hours where we can arrange, or we can talk about recording, and that's kind of our time to do it. But yeah, it's been great, and we're even though we've kept ourselves very busy, to the degree where we kind of wanted to relax a little bit right now. We're going to take like a good week off just to relax, because we put a couple of Christmas things out as well recently. So it's been extremely fulfilling to have the opportunity to do that, because that's been something that we've been wanting to do even pre-pandemic, but now we kind of had the opportunity to do it.
That's great. And just let folks know both your Instagram handle and Sophia's as well, so folks can check out all the great music that you've been putting out.
Great. Yeah, so mine is at Elliott Mason, 2 L's, 1 T, Mason, and my wife's Sophia is Sophie Jazz. So if you it's spelled a little bit different, so SOFIJAZZ.
Yeah, big fans of you guys, and Maxim even makes an appearance on the drums in one of your videos, right?
Yes. See, that's the thing. You try and tell a 2-year-old that like we're playing now 10 minutes ago, and now we're not, when we're trying to get something done. That just doesn't. There's no doing that. So I mean, we include him in a lot of what we do. So we try, he has his little drum set, and we're playing music together, and he loves it. And actually, when I come in here right now, like I have to build like obstacle courses behind me just to slow him down from him like jumping in. And Sophia's like out there trying to stop him from coming in here. But because he just wants to play. He loves being in here and playing music as much as we do, which is wonderful. We don't want to stop that. We want to feed that and fuel that. So yeah, it's and those moments, like, to me, when playing with him, are just some of the ones that stay with me, because he just enjoys it so much.
Yeah, that comes across. I mean, watching the video of you playing with him, just the joy was evident on his face and contagious to you, and you're just so tickled by him, and as am I. So fun to watch. Final question, just thinking back, Elliott Mason, December 31st, 2019, and now Elliott Mason, New Year's Eve 2020. Can you even wrap your head around, like, do you remember, I'm sure you do remember where you were for last year's New Year's?
Well, it's actually Maxim's birthday.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
So he's just turned 3 right now. And so, at that point we were actually in Serbia, where Sophia's from, with her family last year.
Yeah.
And just, we really wanted to make that happen this year, but it just didn't feel right with the situation. And also try and get out to see my mom in England, but that's a complete shutdown right now. So that's the main thing then, was just thinking about how we just still take it for granted that we're just being able to spend time with family, and for them just to enjoy him enjoying his birthday. Yeah. And I really don't know, we're hoping to get out there, hopefully, as my schedule is kind of constantly getting shifted and pushed back into, maybe starting up in April or May or whatever it is, looking towards the summer. If things look better out there, we might try and get out there somewhere in Europe before that happens. So maybe March or April or something, and do a late celebration for him.
Good. Well, Elliott, such a pleasure to connect with you, buddy. Miss seeing you guys around and being part of that, if not every day, every week, kind of catching up a little bit. So please give our best to Sophia as well, and Maxim, and Happy New Year to you guys.
Happy New Year to you. Likewise, man. We missed you out here. You got to come out. You got to let me know when you're coming out, man. And
For sure.
Man, looking forward to that.
That sounds great. Thanks, Elliott. Happy New Year, buddy.
You too, man.
Okay, peace. Elliott Mason, everybody. So good to connect with my friend. As I said, just a guy that I would see around the neighborhood in Astoria for years. Just he and his brother. I would see them at the coffee shop or around town in Astoria. And they always had that aura of, warmth, just and an artistic kind of spirit too. So great to finally connect and strike up a friendship. And big fans of theirs, the whole family, just immensely talented and very, very fine people as well. So happy New Year to the whole family. And Elliott Mason, thank you so much for making time to join us for our big New Year's Eve extravaganza.
Okay, friends, back to your questions. And I hope everyone is feeling festive and getting into the spirit. Just shed it all, friends. Shed it all. Whatever is bottled up in here, let's breathe it out. Go outside and look at the stars. Or if you live in New York, maybe just a hint of the moon. But a new year is almost upon us, and let's enjoy, friends. This is a night to just let it go. If you're young, I don't even know what the hell you're into. But if you're around my age, just, sip on something and have a bite. And let's be sensible, but let's have a great night. All right. Greg Stone writes, when will you have Greg Stone on the podcast? Greg is a great comedian who I have had in the past on my old podcast, A Little Bit Me. But with this aggressive act of coming at me on New Year's Eve, you're banned. I hate to be, I hate to come out that strong. No, Greg, of course, my friend, you will be on. But it will be a week later than I had initially intended. Look, a lot of this is just so fluid, Greg. I'm a married man with a kid, and I make these decisions like the day of. Like, okay, I consult with the stars. I say, who should rain down on this particular episode? I get my answers, and I proceed. So, Greg, fear not, my friend. 2021, you will be on the Ted Alexandro Show. Happy New Year to you and yours. But nobody else asked, by the way. That's Greg's bit. Stephen Rios asks via Facebook, can I get $500? Stephen, I admire your audacity, the forthcoming nature of your question, and yes, you will be getting, if you are a United States resident, you will be getting, in fact, $600 is my prediction. I don't know when it'll happen, probably in 2022. And the vaccine will cost exactly that amount. So the answer is yes, Stephen, you can get $500, but there is an asterisk. I don't know when you will get it. It will not be from me, but I see $500 coming into your life in small increments, perhaps, or maybe in a lump sum. And I, regardless, I wish you well, and I wish you a happy new year to you and yours, Stephen. May we all get $500 daily. Let's be very audacious. All right, my friends, very excited to welcome our next guest. He is an actor, a comedian. He is a friend of the show. He is our international correspondent. Let's welcome back to the show, Jeffrey Joseph.
Hey, look at that.
Welcome back, buddy.
Look at you. They're in studio.
Just floating in space.
Just floating in space, just in a void of darkness.
Yes.
Wow.
This represents my soul.
Wow. That's, I would think something a little bit more colorful.
Well, I like to keep the dressing sparse and allow my spirit to fill the screen and that of my guests. I don't need the set to do the work.
Right. So the guests are me, and that figurine whose head is cut up into different little slices of territory.
No pressure.
I don't know you were a phrenologist.
He's a former.
You want to see the shape of my head so that you can assay my intelligence?
No pressure at all, my friend.
You look at my scalp and you be like, you're a really good dancer, aren't you? How'd you know that? How did you know that?
It's my field of expertise.
Forehead. Oh, wow. But not good at math. Whoa.
Well, you are a comedian.
Yeah, man.
So, my friend, welcome back. First and foremost, happy New Year's Eve. This is we're finally getting out of 2020. But I have to say, you of all people have this year, it seems from the outside looking in, has treated you pretty well, at least professionally. Every time I turn around, you're in another project, and all well deserved. Believe me, I'm thrilled for you, but I'm also like somewhat astounded. Like, man, Jeffrey is doing it.
Yeah, man, I was really right place, right time.
Yeah.
It's everything just sort of came together since I moved up here to Vancouver, generally speaking, and then in this year of this. There's some Latin term called horribilis annus, like the horrible year. And this horrible year, things turned it out.
I think it's pronounced anus.
Anus?
I think so.
See, I didn't want to. I know this is
Let me
clean comedy,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't want to go and say that, even if it's Latin. I don't want.
You have to go for the.
Well,
you have
why
to
do you come on Ted's show and then just dirty everything up with your misshapen skull? But we should have guessed because of the way the forehead creased. So,
it has been horrible anus and everything in between.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's been very good for me. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, like I said, some comedians, when I see them working, I'm like, ugh,
Finally, some honesty.
But when I see you, man, I'm always, I'm like, good for them. Not just good for Jeffrey, but good for them.
Oh, thank you. That's the ultimate compliment.
So you're welcome. So tell me, as you said, you moved to Vancouver. So did that factor into getting a lot of these gigs? Because the work environment there was different than the States?
Well, I think one thing that factors into getting gigs is just I felt a lot better up here. So I felt just a better sense of well-being, which then allows you to freedom to maybe to create a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weird because I think living in New York all those years, you definitely get inspired constantly by the billion and one things that happen to you every single day. You know what I mean? And the billion and one things you see every single day. But sometimes it's all so much that you don't get a chance to express it because you're just so busy trying to survive it. You know what I mean? But here it's like most of the big tensions of life weren't here. I mean, it was a little boring in the beginning, but it did allow me to be more creative, I think.
Luckily, you stored up the inspiration from New York and packed it with you, so now you can breathe and you can get some work done up there.
Yeah, that and the post-traumatic stress that both started to unravel. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I think on the second part of your question, I think it did help that I was up here in the pandemic because this became one of the prime filming destinations because they had really low COVID numbers and really good. If you believe in that COVID thing.
Well,
between me and you, Ted.
Let's flip.
I think there's something else going on here that, I mean, we'll get into it after the broadcast because you and I, we both see through what's going on. Yeah, come on, man. This isn't just about some germs.
We see what they're doing.
but because of the low case numbers and at that time the good methodology to prevent contamination, filming resumed up here and really just took off, and it's been nonstop busy since things reopened in June or July.
So the projects that you've been involved with, have they all been shot during the pandemic, or were some of them already somewhere in the can?
Yeah, just some are already in the can.
Nice.
Just waiting to come out.
Nice. Now, I want to ask you now, as a Canadian citizen,
yes.
We have to talk about the differences of the way the Canadian government has dealt with you are, after all, our international correspondent. Talk a little bit about the way the Canadian government has dealt with the pandemic and you, the citizens, as opposed to here in the States, obviously.
Man, nothing will make you feel more schizophrenic than being a dual citizen and watching the Canadian news and then the US news.
Is that right?
It's insane. First of all, the guy who is currently leaving office in the United States, because he was cheated. I think we can all see that.
It's problematic.
Hundreds of millions of dead black people voted. We know that. Slaves came back from the graves and voted.
I would not be opposed to slaves voting from the grave. I, for one, that should be part of the reparations package.
But yeah, so this ass is finally leaving. But just to watch him and his coronavirus team speak and then listen to like Canadian officials was like night and day, because there's nobody up here. There's no major official that's arguing science.
Right.
Nobody's arguing science. They're presenting it, and they're presenting different methodologies as to how to deal with things. But nobody was saying, well, this thing isn't really going to harm us. I mean, no, everybody knew. And the other thing is that everybody kind of wanted to help, even the conservatives. I mean, I don't know if they meant it or not, because I thought this was insane, but some of the conservatives wanted Trudeau to do more for people. You have to find different, more innovative ways to get money to people, instead of the way you're doing it. I was like, this is crazy.
And what is that? What have been the benefits to Canadian citizens? What were the package? I mean, as the United States government is still bickering back and forth about what the number is going to be. Is it going to be 600? Is it going to be 2,000? One-time payment. Yeah. What's been the deal for Canadian citizens?
I think since March, I think anybody who made, I think the rule was anybody who made $5,000 in the previous year, right, would get $2,000 a month. So if you made $5,000 in all of 2019, you would get $2,000 a month from the Canadian government. As
those scammers who knew that the pandemic was coming and deliberately paid only $5,000 last year.
Right.
And so they've been everyone who made $5,000 is making $2,000 a month. And I mean, that's
so some people were making much more than they had made the previous year.
Sure.
And then also there was like a rental benefit, so like a percentage of my rent was being paid every month.
So that's on top of the 2,000. You don't have to put the full 2,000 towards your rent. You're getting some sort of subsidy towards rent.
Right. And then there was, I think my province, I live in British Columbia, I think they had the highest cost for healthcare for the individual in the country, which was $37.50 a month, which if I were to ask any of my neighbors, they would just get into a ranting rave about, it's outrageous. We've got to pay $37 a month for healthcare. And it's okay. That's horrible. Yeah. I don't know how you do it. But that got cut, so you didn't have to pay for that.
Oh, wow. So the $37.50 was the existing number.
before the pandemic? Oh, I lost you there.
And
I'm sorry. You froze there for a second, buddy.
then, oh, brother, I didn't freeze.
Is it on my end? Am I freezing? I'm sorry. Just take it from the part where you're saying about the they eliminated the $37.50.
Right. So you didn't have to pay for your healthcare premium or whatever it was, and also then they started suspending. Like I didn't have to pay for my utilities for months, and they did something else too. Oh, and then shit got it got a little crazy because some of my Canadian friends were complaining on Facebook about, well, look, we have childcare, which is given by the government, but now, because we don't work, our kids don't have to be in childcare, so we have to take care of our own kids. And so why aren't we subsidized for that? And I was like, well, that's crazy. You want to be paid for taking care of your own fucking kids? Is that what you just said? I thought
thank God they have a few Americans up there to talk sense.
Yeah. But then the government started doing something like that.
Is that right?
There was some kind of, I was like, this is insane. You're paying people to take care of their kids?
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine, like you talked about the post-traumatic stress thing. It's almost hard for Americans to fathom a government that is not only responsive, but beyond like really almost goes like you said to these efforts that seem even a little like extreme. Like coming from America, because we're, like I said, we're still fighting over a one-time payment. Whatever it's going to wind up being. So, I mean, that's got to be a real relief. You talk about like quality of life and, because I mean, I feel it now having a house. We moved to Connecticut as I mentioned to you in one of I thought I texted, maybe I didn't text it to you. Yeah, we moved like Halloween.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. We'd been looking for, over a year and finally the pandemic kind of increased the intensity. So
you're actually broadcasting from your underground bunker now.
That's exactly right.
Jerry Falwell built one of those good ones?
For sure.
Oh, very nice.
I only come out for food and a little breathing air. But yeah, so like we've been up here and but you talk about like expenses and stuff like that, and being a homeowner now, it's like they come fast and furious, and and not having like the steady income of gigs and stuff, it's like you start to kind of do the math and it's stressful.
They also did a rental freeze up here where you couldn't raise rents and you also couldn't evict anybody, and there might have been some kind of mortgage moratorium too, as I'm remembering. And then, I think that happened too.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about Jeffrey Joseph, New Year's Eve, 2019 versus 1 year later, 2020. Like, can you think back to how you were celebrating last year and your mindset and all of that?
Last year, I was in a beautiful resort in Jamaica.
Wow.
Spending Christmas with some really dear friends and just like living and loving life and feet in the sand all day and, swimming, and it was just idyllic, just like a dream.
Yeah.
And this year, I think I'll be alone in my bubble here, in my little bubble apartment. Mm-hmm. Which is it's I have nothing to complain about. I'm comfortable, and
you got your child care subsidy.
I get child care and I don't even have kids. It's amazing. I'm busy right now. My doctors just came. They just wanted to check on me. Can you come back in about 20 minutes? And thanks for the ventilator. They just left me a ventilator just in case. I'm sorry, what were you saying? Yeah.
They really do go above and beyond.
Wow, but it starts to bother you after a little bit,
Yeah, it's a nuisance.
So I wanted, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about the iconic venue that we had spent so much time in together, and we had done so many events and just hung out in, even the Creek in the Cave, that was among the casualties of the pandemic, and I guess they were, kind of struggling even prior to that, as so many small businesses were. But what are some of your memories of the Creek in the Cave over the years?
Oh man, I really, really love the Creek in the Cave. I really love Rebecca, who's the owner and founder, and kind of the caretaker for a lot of people who need taken care of.
I mean, you and I were kind of among the old heads.
Yeah,
because there was so many. We'd see the younger generations.
Yeah.
So we had that perspective, and as you say, Rebecca definitely did kind of play that role, taking care of some of the younger folks.
It was kind of like, to me, it was kind of like a college for comedy, like some kind of postgraduate school. Like people would come in from all parts of the country, and they'd kind of end up, after a while, after bouncing around kind of the alt scene, they'd end up at the Creek at some point, and they'd all watch shows, or they'd start a show, and it was a big hangout for a lot of people, and it was great food and great drink and wild nights and a lot of creativity, and sometimes a lot of creativity in front of nobody. There'd be like some off day in the middle of the week, and there'd just be a few people in the audience.
I shot a special like
and there would be no cover charge. I remember Rich Voss had one great line. He was like, "How do I know you people are actually here to see comedy, or maybe you're just waiting for the bus? You don't have to pay to get in."
Yeah, the bus stop was right on the corner.
It was right there. It was very funny. He's very funny dude.
Yeah, he's great.
But it was always like, she was always open to try new things and to let comedians try new things and to workshop their stuff. And it was just a great welcoming environment for myself and a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I made some great friendships out of that place.
For sure.
That I'll cherish. One of my great friends I made out of that place, Kevin Barnett, passed away about a year ago now, I think, 2 years ago, on January 20th.
That's right.
And I met him there, and so many people.
You met Kevin just doing shows there, just on the same bill?
Yeah. And we'd hang out there for sure.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about Kevin, because he was like a young guy that was, was coming up and was doing some great things, and you probably witnessed like the trajectory of his growth and him finding and getting a lot of writing gigs and stuff.
Yeah, man. He came up from Florida, where he was, I guess he studied jazz music in Florida.
That's right.
I forget.
The sax, I think.
Florida State. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And he kind of came up, and he had his own kind of unique style, kind of laid back and very charming and very smart. And yeah, man, he was just this ragtag guy with holes in his shoes and who couldn't afford a haircut. So we'd always make fun of his hairline and his hair. And, but he liked hanging out and having a good time. And he's also very creative. And then like things just started happening for him. He made things happen, and started to get on television as a stand-up, and then started doing some writing gigs. And then he created a couple of TV shows. He created
Friends of the People,
and then the show with Little Rel, right? He was one of the creators of that show.
That's right.
And him and his partner Josh, his writing partner Josh.
Yep.
And they also wrote for Lana Glazer's show, and he did a lot of stuff.
Right.
Never ever bragged about anything. It was just like
Broad City.
Yeah. He never, he never bragged about anything. He never was arrogant about anything. He just kind of did the work, and it was just a lovely guy in so many ways.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago. But he's one of the best people that I befriended, lucky enough to befriend at the Creek. And Rebecca was a huge supporter of his, and without betraying either one of their confidences, she did some really wonderful things for him very early on that still touch my heart.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm sure, your friendship and mentorship meant a lot to him, as it has to so many young comedians. I'll say that to you. I mean, even to me, even though we're essentially the same age, you always had an encouraging word. But I know, especially for some of the younger guys, you were a real presence of like older brother, or just somebody to kind of put them in the right direction, or give them a little encouragement, or even chastisement if needed.
Well, thanks, man. And it's funny you say that in regards to Kevin, because I had done a lot of comedy, and then I quit for like more than 10 years. Yeah. And I didn't do any comedy. And then I started showing up in the open mic scene in New York City. And it was Kevin actually that outed me as someone who had been a professional comedian, because I did a show with him, and we talked it up, and we chatted it up and then what he did is he went home and he Googled me, because he was like, well, this guy's too good to just be an open mic. Oh shit. And so he Googled me, and then he told everybody, oh no, this guy, he's been on television, he's done all this other stuff before. And so he kind of ruined my kind of sneaky re-entrance into show business.
Yeah, man. You had your full plan laid out, and then you blew up your spot.
Yeah. But my mentorship with Kevin was just talking a lot of shit. I mean, I would just talk a lot of shit to Kevin.
Sometimes that's all they need.
Me, man.
Yeah.
And I used to love to get him mad, because he was, we're both of Jamaican heritage. So I knew how he was raised to like be respectful to older people. And so I would just get him mad.
You took advantage.
He would just like short circuit, because he couldn't allow himself to express rage back at me, because he thought he had to have respect. And I would just love watching that. I would just love watching that. Yes. Watching it bubble up, and then I couldn't go anywhere.
Anger management, it's important. It's important. Yeah. Well, buddy, wishing you such a happy new year. I cherish our friendship and all the the times that we've spent together, and wishing you nothing but the best going forward into 2021. Hopefully our paths will cross in next year, if the fates allow.
Hey, man, I really miss you. I really hope to see you in 2021. And I hope when I do see you in Connecticut there, that you don't have a whole bunch more of these little heads and bodies, because that I know that what can happen to white men when they're left to their own devices in the suburbs.
I can't make any promises, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, if neighbors just watch, if he buys an RV, if he buys a large truck and a lot of fertilizers, call somebody.
Things could go badly quickly, but so far
it's always the nice guy. It's always like, oh, Ted, he just seems so reasonable. It's always those ones.
Let this video stand as a warning.
Jeffrey, I love you, man.
I love you too, buddy. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming.
I love to you and your family too, man. I follow all your family on Facebook, man. They're lovely people.
Oh, and they love you as well. Thank you, brother. Man. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. Jeffrey Joseph, everybody, our international man of mystery and our international correspondent. All right, friends, we're going to jump back into your questions. Where are you at right now? Are you counting down yet? How soon do you start? You remember the person who would have like the official NASA thing like on their watch or whatever? They'd be like, that's not the real count. I've got NASA. This is when the countdown really starts. Be like, can you relax, please? You're bringing anxiety into my New Year's celebration. Get him out. Get him and his watch out. Grace Young asks on Twitter, which book or author shifted your political perspective the most radically for you? Thank you for your question, Grace. I think, honestly, the person that has impacted my worldview the most is Martin Luther King Jr. Just his example of a life of love and peaceful resistance
within movements and organizing and just being a constant presence of voicing dissent and resistance and agitating for progress, for Black people, for all people, for later in his life, for poor people, and attacking militarism, racism, all of the what are the three evils? Militarism, racism, and the other one, capitalism, I guess, probably imperialism. It's all inextricably linked, but there are a few books by MLK and some of his speeches, some of his writings, letters from a Birmingham jail. Taylor Branches, is that the author? I believe Taylor Branch wrote a trilogy of books about MLK that I repeatedly go back to. I haven't finished all of them. They're thick, they're dense, but I just find him such a compelling, probably the singular American figure for me in American history of someone that I return to as an example, as an inspiration. So thank you for that question, Grace. And that's why I've written so many jokes that include him over the years, because he's somebody that I think a lot about and also try to think comedically and as a human being about too, so those are fun things to explore about somebody who's so iconic. But MLK is definitely the person who has kind of touched me and impacted the way I look at the world, I suppose. All right, friends, let's get back to it. All right, friends, it is time for our final guest, the headliner, if you will. And if you notice, I'm dressed for the occasion because this is someone special in my life, in the show, in my world. Very excited to bring our headlining guest. She is a psychic medium. She is an artist, a seer, a thinker, a mother, a wife. She is the executive producer extraordinaire of the Ted Alexandro Show and of my life. Let's face it. Let's welcome Madalyn Geraldine. Oh, yes. Welcome back to the show, Madalyn Geraldine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I like your set better than mine, actually. I'm going to have to speak to you about sprucing up my deal.
We have to add ferns for your...
That is true.
Oh, look at you.
Well, I'm not trying to lead you in any particular direction, but I have not worn, I'll have you know, I'm pretty sure you're aware of this, I have not worn a suit jacket for the entirety of 2020. So I figured for the headline guest of the big New Year's Eve extravaganza, I would bring it out for you.
That's great. Thank you. I
You're
don't think
very
you've
welcome.
worn a suit jacket for 4 years.
Well, there's really no need to go too far back in the dates, but I think the point is I did something special for you, and might I say, you look beautiful and radiant.
Thank you.
Yourself. Absolutely, yes. Let's start with 2020. You are, the folks know, you're coming back to the show. So those who have watched know that you are a psychic medium. What has that been like specifically in 2020? Has it posed any particular challenges, different than years past? What has it been like in the context of pandemic 2020?
Well, it just feels like pretty natural, normal stuff. But as far as 2020 goes, I feel like I probably, I took a little bit more of a break because, like some of you may know, I'm pregnant again.
I was aware.
Thanks. So I kind of have been like on a break in 2020 anyway, and just being, to ourselves, like most people at home, and focusing on family and things like that. But as far as psychic goes, it's interesting because, of course, I do tend to pick up on what's coming or the truth behind what's being said. And so most of 2020 was me just calling BS on basically everything that was being thrown at us.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And so it's so funny because most of the time, any intuitive person knows, it just is very natural. And so you're basically just a detector for the truth. And so when you're not hearing it, that masks weren't going to be helpful, you just know right away that that's not true. They can't be. And then you think, oh, this is rational,
Mm-hmm.
But really it's coming from a place deeper than just your own mind, because really, do I know anything about medicine? No. Of course, months later, we were all wearing masks because, news stories and
I'm sorry.
most of the news stories.
I'm sorry, Matt. Can you take that back to, because you froze a little bit. Can you just take it back to when you said, of course, months later, we were all wearing masks?
Yeah. Well, can you cut it off there?
Probably. Yes.
Yeah. So, of course, months later, we were all wearing masks. In your head, as an intuitive person, you think, oh, I just know this rationally. I don't always attribute everything to psychic abilities, because things just come very quickly and naturally. So it never feels like a burden. It never feels heavy or scary, which I think is like a big preconceived notion of what it's like to be a medium or psychic. In the beginning, it might have felt like that because I didn't know what was going on, or when I was finally opening up to my abilities, I didn't know what was going on. So even like as a child, it would have been very overwhelming to know that people are lying, that kind of thing, to know that kind of thing, especially I think always really being good at what is the truth happening, and having no tolerance at all for non-truth.
Yeah, I mean, I've told you this, that you're probably the person in my life who is most truthful, to a fault, I would say at times. Yeah, because I'm not above telling the white lie here or there just to make life easier, like most people. But you don't even abide that.
No.
But what I wanted to say was, in the early going, I remember how adamant you were that, I mean, even before, like, I think you were more vigilant about it than like Fauci and like
everyone was more vigilant than Fauci.
That's true. The bar was pretty low there.
He was like, "You're fine."
Yeah, go out, no mask. But no, I mean, like you were amongst my circle and amongst my contacts. You were at the forefront of saying, like, this is serious. You should shut down. Like you kind of said, like, stop going on the road even. And, I was kind of like on the same page, that I was erring on the side of caution, but you were ahead of me as well. So thank you is what I'm trying to say.
You're welcome. Yeah. It's an interesting thing because obviously we never lived through a pandemic before this lifetime or whatever. So yeah, it was a weird, I didn't want to broadcast any of my, stuff to the world, really. I didn't think that was going to be helpful. It might have just sounded alarmist, scary. And I wasn't really scared, but it's like being really structured and being really careful, but maybe not super scared. And, so I didn't want to evoke fear. I felt like everyone had to go through this.
Well, you scared the hell out of me. No, you actually, it was an alarm, but of the best sort, to kind of take things seriously. As I said, I was, and I think you knew that, but, there is almost that tendency to kind of, just do one more thing, right? Like, I'll do one more gig, or I'll do, let's kind of see what happens. But fortunately, you were adamant, and probably being pregnant factored into it. But yeah, I'm grateful that you had that foresight.
Thanks. Yeah. Just so you know, I got pregnant in July.
Right. And I felt like at that point, you really understood. I'm not good. It feels like you've been pregnant since I've known you.
I feel exactly the same way. In my head before this, I was like, maybe I'll test Ted and ask him how many weeks I am, or.
Please, where my strengths lie. I know we're getting there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, in the capacity of psychic medium, do you have any predictions or insights for 2021, for the upcoming year, the change of the calendar?
Right. So I guess I'll start with the first thing that's coming up for when you're asking the question, because really I haven't really done anything. So I wanted it to be a helpful kind of a reading for people who watch your show.
You'll fit in well. There's no preparation. This show, we look down on any preparation. So
I'm aware of that because I'm producing this and I'm the exact same way. So that's
you're a stern taskmaster towards me, though. Let's make that clear. Please go ahead.
All right. So the first thing, really, I feel like maybe we're starting off with the more difficult stuff, and then we'll work into whatever else is coming up. But really, honestly, it's coming up finances here. So I'm talking to like a largely American audience right now. I can feel that, although you do have some fans all over the world. I do want to say, like, we are kind of holding our breath. I do feel we're entering quite a bit of a financial depression. That's not going to be a surprise to anyone, but I would not really believe in, again, the things that you hear about how it's not going to be that, because you have to trust your gut here with your finances, your situation. I do feel a sense of being aware of that coming for you, for anyone who's watching this, because it is what it is. You must know that, this is what we're entering into, and by September, November of next year is really when we start to get the major headache around it. It just feels like, oh man, we're out of breath, because we've really been getting no support, financially, most of Americans. It's a miracle, like, how resourceful people are. And that will come into play, because it's going to be your communities, your small families, and the families around you that continue to keep you going through financially difficult time.
Yeah, that idea of mutual aid, I think, is coming into sharper focus, whether it's community or even more micro, like you said, family members, neighbors. Because as you say, I think there has been a hesitancy to call it a depression or to really acknowledge. I mean, you can't have people going like a full calendar year without income. It's just not possible. So.
No.
Yeah.
And we're talking about millions of people at once, So it's not just, oh, my friend is unemployed and we have a community of people who are employed around this person. No, that's not what's happening here. Is that we're all very underemployed. Most Americans will continue to be this way. That's not to say there's no hope for you personally or that money is going to be, the only thing, but that as a whole, you will be feeling the strain, whether or not you yourself are completely without resources, your neighbors are, your friends are. And so it is time to recognize the importance of relationships. So really the focus is going into our homes and our families and realizing how important actual relations are. Whereas in 2019 and before, we were flying all over the place, living far from family. People are coming together. They're finding a way to be close physically again. Mm-hmm. This is actually something that brings peace for a lot of Americans. There's a really strong guidance of the truth and how important the truth is going to be for everyone going forward. And obviously, we've been dealing with subjective truth, but there will be a trend towards a more objective truth. I feel that there's a lot of hopelessness around this coming together to what is the truth. Well, everyone has their own truth about everything they've ever seen, Everyone has a different perspective about everything. However, there are universal truths, and more people are coming into universal truths. So more people are becoming more discerning. So I would not give up hope, right, about your neighbors. And you have this extreme, the center of 2021 really is giving me family. And this is like number 6, if you know numerology. The 6 is coming up because this is about relationships to your family, community, and then global family. Can you forgive people differing opinion than you? And move into universal laws, universal truth. We are coming from a very small-minded place. We took for granted how much we could focus on ourselves. We have a very strong individualistic spirit, a soul of America is an individual-based soul. And now we are, for probably hundreds of years, we're slowly moving in to a united idea of what is my purpose. It's not just about my life, So we're moving into that, but it's just the very beginning and it'll be very slow. So, hang in there.
No, that's an assessment that I agree with as far as the American psyche. And with the era of self-help and stuff, we're constantly, it kind of falls on the individual, like pull yourself out of it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, figure it out, stop whining, right? So the antidote to all of that is the things you're talking about with community, family, asking for help.
Yeah, in the New Age, spirituality, it was like Americans or Western culture taking on some of these truths, but making it work for what our purposes were, individual purposes. And so if something happens, it's my fault also. And so it's just, we're shifting into a more true place. At the time that you may have felt that way or learned that, that may have been the truth for you, and it might have been helpful to you. And now we're evolving that truth. So there is that, that evil is a good that has outlived its usefulness. It was good to think that at one time for many people, but now it is not good to think that. You can't apply these new age or just solely, I'm not throwing every new age, because I love a lot of the spirituality that came out of that time, but you can't apply that to now. We are in an evolution of our spirituality. And so as you may also know, like, this is the end of the guru era, thank God. This is the end of that. I'm following one teacher.
I missed my window.
Yes.
Just when the beard is looking so tight. Oh, well.
I know.
No, I can, I'll make the sacrifice.
Yeah. When I say end, as you know, it's a slower process than maybe we would like. So you may have some followers.
Well, thank you. In the interest of respecting your time, I told you we'd keep it to 15 to 20 minutes. Any other broad predictions before I give you a final question / thought?
Yeah, there is more, of course, obviously. I'm just going on a very, very broad kind of reading here for everything that's going on. And I'm talking about between, politics, between that. Really, we are politics, we are the government, as hard as that is to really comprehend. It's us, it's something within us that is reflected in these different organizations. And that continues on. We're not just gonna snap out and be enlightened beings or anything like that. But this year is offering a lot of more clarity. It's offering a lot more emotional clarity for people. I think it's going to be, ups and downs like the usual stuff, but where it might have been hard to know where my heart lies, what my purpose is, what's humanity's purpose, it becomes very clear, very simple. And the things that we're interested in become clearer and clearer and smaller and more manageable. So there is a huge, huge shift from materialism that we've been in from the 80s, right? Right from, I'm going after 70s through to the 80s, where 70s were the end of kind of thinking of freedoms, right? And then moving into financial gain and that being in the psyche.
Greed is good.
Wow. What's that?
Greed is good.
Right.
Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, all that Reaganism, those years of more is more and greed is good.
Yeah. So finally, as we go into 2020, again, this is a beginning place of it, but as we go there, that becomes uncool. Finally, again, that is not something people are attracted to in others. That is not something that is going to be looked at as superior, right? So we are starting to change the way we think of what is this wealth, what is real wealth. And this is on a very big collective scale, so you will feel it, you'll notice it, you'll write about, you'll write different characters, things are changing from Of course, the artists are the first ones to kind of pick up the zeitgeist of that kind of thing. And they will continue to kind of lead everyone, lead each other.
Well, in a way, it's almost like a life and death mission for artists and society at large, because these are issues where I think you're kind of articulating it in a roundabout way, that capitalism is the cause of so many of these, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, the word omnicidal always pops up for me. Omnicide, as someone said that, and it stuck with me. That kills all. So that it's untenable, it's unsustainable. That ethos of more and growth, it's unsustainable. So, I'm hopeful that I think it's already in process, this shift that you're talking about, and I hope it becomes more pronounced, like you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll notice it this year. The other thing now also too that I want to say about Years is that they've never been so united, and they will continue to feel this way. That we will all have 2020, 2021, and for the rest of our lives, a real handle on what it was like for everyone. So you're not so in a bubble that, we always talk about with this Facebook, social media, all these little bubbles that spiritually we're not, energetically we're not. We actually have something to hold on to like never ever before in humanity, where everyone has this universal experience and only bring people together, So it's kind of, that's a beautiful thing that we will always have going forward. And the last thing too is there does seem to be, an important thing about recognizing that, we will have to witness more war, more defeat, more kind of the things that most of us truly don't want to see. Those things, those powers that be, 2021 has that going on, and it's going to continue. But as we continue to decolonize our minds, we will be able to have influence over what seems impossible. We will start influencing impossible situations. It just, I don't think it's, I know it's not going to happen this year. I wish it would. And then very interesting situation with 2021. You have to realize everything I'm talking about is a snail's pace. So really brace yourself, like find your joy, your sustainability, because this is slow. And I mean that for COVID, I mean that for the finances, health. If you get sick, as you see with COVID, if we look at it symbolically, if we feel it symbolically, it's taking a long time to recover. So you have to be easy on yourself and others. We cannot resist our time of resting and letting this stuff come through us, letting things work through. We can't deny things, we can't resist them, and just hang in because it's going to be slow. So hopefully that helps.
It helps me. I like a slow pace anyway, so that is encouraging for me. And I want to thank you publicly. I think I thank you just about every day, but I want to thank you for the love, the joy, the light, the energy that you bring into my life and our son Nico's life, and the being within that will appear sometime in 2021. So I love you and I appreciate you and thank you for your wisdom and your words.
I love you too. And I want to thank you also for everything you're doing, because I don't think anybody knows how much you're doing, because I'm pregnant. I was going to say so pregnant. I feel so tired most of the time. This has been, emotionally, physically difficult. And you are like the star parent and working and doing the podcast. And I just love the work that you're doing on the podcast. Love what, all of the interviews, all the people that you have on are so interesting. And I just, you're keeping life fun and interesting. We always say it, but I just feel like the luckiest people in this, in the world. And so, it's just nice that you're able to continue to share, continue to create throughout all of this, where I go into my little cocoon. I'm finally starting to work again a little bit.
Yeah.
You have been working all year. So thank you so much. It's been great. You put out 100 specials and we love them.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that very much. And it's been my joy. I do feel very lucky. Yeah, we feel lucky because we have love and we have a roof and all good things. The final thing I've asked everyone tonight, Madalyn Geraldine, December 31st, 2019 versus here we are now, December 31st, 2020. What do you remember where you were? What was going on? Where your head was at versus now?
I do. I remember very clearly because Nico, our son, was 6 days old then. So
That's right.
I was a brand new mom. We'd only been home like 3 days at that point, and you were a brand new dad, and wow. Yeah, I remember he was like this big. And so what's today, or the 31st, 2020, he's huge. He's like a fully formed adult in my head. It's crazy how much he's changed this year.
Yeah.
I love him so much, obviously, but his personality is, so this Nico has blessed our year. Wow. Sure. He's one of the best people I've ever met.
He's our favorite guy.
He is. So that, he marks the year for me. And so that's where, we're the most fortunate and people, because I will never think, oh, COVID. I'll always think Nico came on Christmas.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. He really did define the year and define the time that we had together, because it made it that much more special to have this little being that we were caring for and raising and watching. And yeah, so it made the time really beautiful despite the chaos of everything going on.
It really was. And I hope for everyone as we go forward into 2021 that there's those joyful things in everyone's life too, because that's where we have to focus really daily.
Yes, hear.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Madalyn. That's what Nico likes to do. I will see you very shortly.
I'll see you in another room.
And Happy New Year. I love you.
Happy New Year.
Woo!
Happy Woo! Okay, love you.
Love you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Madalyn Geraldine, my friends, psychic medium, seer, speaker, feeler, mother, artist, my wife, my best friend, and of course, the executive producer extraordinaire of She's Calling Already with notes, no doubt. executive producer extraordinaire of the Ted Alexandro Show. So thank you, Madalyn Geraldine. Very exciting to have you on and to get some insights for 2021. Well, my friends, that is our show. And what an extravaganza it has been. We're getting closer and closer. NASA, how close are we? Should we be counting? X, IX, VIII. Thank you, one and all. I try to express it every week, but I'll express it here. Thank you to everyone who has been watching and subscribing. Please do subscribe, like the video, comment, hit the notification bell. You can support the show at patreon.com/Ted Alexandro. But thank you to everyone who has been doing all of these things and all of the feedback and the kind words. It means the world, especially during this crazy time where, you know, you're kind of figuring things out on the fly. And it means the world that folks have been watching, listening, leaving reviews, leaving comments, all of these things. Very deeply appreciated. And I'm glad that you're enjoying it, because we are here as well. That is our show, friends. That is our year. We did it. Good riddance, 2020. Adieu. Looking forward to 2021. I'm wishing you, your family, your friends, your inner circle, but especially you, listener, wishing you love, peace, health, abundance, and joy, and laughter. Of course, let's not leave that out in the year ahead. As always, we thank our producer extraordinaire, the man with the plan, the man on the ones and twos, the man who pieced this all together. Come on. He does it all, and he does it all with such spirit and friendship. I thank you, Matthew L. Weiss.
Happy New Year!
Oh, yes. Thank you, Matthew, and Happy New Year to you and Mary and the little kitties. And we thank Pro DLC, who provides the music. Happy New Year to him. Check out Pro DLC's music wherever you listen to music. And, of course, once again, we thank Madalyn Geraldine, our executive producer extraordinaire, our guest tonight. I love you very much. And all of our guests, Jim Gaffigan, Elliott Mason, Jeffrey Joseph. My love to all of you and your families, and Happy New Year, one and all. Let's do this, 2021. Ready or not, here we come.